Welcome to the Help My Unbelief podcast, the number one Christian podcast designed for the unbeliever. Sup, Boo?
Hey, man. How are you today?
Do you know what Boo means?
Dude.
I was waiting.
Do you not know what Boo means? I know that was
Did you say boo? I thought
Yeah.
you said dude.
No, I said Boo.
You called me boo?
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
In my term, that was a lovely term for your spouse.
What does that mean? Boo definition?
Means my baby.
Suddenly?
My kid's mama.
I think y'all call it Bo now, right? Bo?
or
Your
potentially my
BAU?
child's mama.
What does Boo mean?
baby
What does that
Boo,
mean?
girlfriend.
How do you spell it?
Look,
How do you spell it?
BOO.
No.
but I love scaring
Yeah.
people, so when I say boo, I mean it.
Remember,
Like,
you're not dealing with an actual word. It's slang. So go to the Urban Dictionary.
Urban Dictionary.
I don't know. Yeah.
I
It's
need,
frustrating.
I need an
boo.
Urban Dictionary.
I'm going to urban your dictionary here in a minute. Yeah, I don't know. What have you been? So what's been the favorite part of your week so far? It's only Wednesday, so it should be rather specific. What's been the favorite part of your week this
That
far?
God has given me the strength to make it through when I thought I couldn't.
Yeah.
I worked 7 hours on one lawn
Wow.
by myself.
Why? Why did it take that long? Is it that big or did something happen?
5 acres with a lot of edging, a lot of driveway,
Okay.
a lot of weed eating, tree trimming, hedging. I did a full service by myself.
You haven't had any help? Have you been able to keep up with it?
I can tell you a funny story. Can I go with a funny story?
Okay. Let me hear it.
Saturday we mowed 9 lawns, Darcy and myself.
Wow.
No help.
Wow.
We knocked out the first 3 or sitting together, so it's like, brum, we're done. Oh, babe, we did that like in an hour and a half. That was kick. Yeah, we did great. Next lawn. We hadn't been told that it needed service, so, we kind of drove by, looked at the front yard, and this yard is Larry Autry's, but this yard, it grows perfectly together, so you don't really notice how
Yeah.
deep and thick it is. The backyard, though, we weren't looking at when we drove by.
It was mint.
It was bad. So there was, I weed-eated the yard because that's my job. And I'm usually done with the backyard, weed-eated and done with the backyard before she gets done. By the time she's blowing, I'm coming out of the back, right?
Of course, Princess over here is on the riding lawnmower, huh?
No. This is all push right now.
She said, push, fool?
No. I do all the riding. She don't do that.
You don't like the riding?
No, she likes those perfectly straight lines.
I don't even know what that means, bro.
She's immaculate.
Does she ever do them sideways just to kick things off? Nice striped sideways.
Yeah.
And
She
then
does my cut in.
And then the squares that just continually get smaller. Do you ever mow
No,
like that?
no.
I do that. That's what I do.
You can't do that because then you have to go across those squares and you tear up the whole pattern.
Well, if you're in a hurry. If you're not, you work from the center
No,
out.
we do back and forth. Hey, he needs to know
Oh
this.
my God, from
he
the
needs
center
to know this
out?
because he's volunteered to
There's
come help
skills.
me tomorrow.
You're going to go help Larry?
Yeah.
I'm bored. I'm
So-
bored. I'm in.
Bro, you should have told me I got roofs going on, man.
Yeah, I don't want to do any roofing.
That might be, yeah.
I gotta get all the mowing done so when the fences job
Man.
starts coming in,
Been
I'm
there,
ready to
done
go.
Well, they had this new guy. Were you finished with
I
your
got a
story?
fence on Tuesday.
Were you finished with your story? Sorry.
No.
I was transitioning.
No.
that. No, he wasn't
Sorry.
even halfway through his story.
Sorry.
Well, I know.
Okay, so anyway, we knocked it out. We got down and we're at lawn 7.
Yeah.
We're starting to get tired. It's the heat of the day. It's starting to really kick.
Yeah.
And I go over to her house and I park and there's a hill.
Uh-huh.
All right. So I usually park this way, but I parked this way on the incline and I lowered the tailgate and I unhooked the straps that hold the mowers in place. And she was like, "Oh, babe, let's lay down." And my back was hurting from all the weed eating. Let's lay down here on the concrete driveway because it has a carport and the concrete was cool enough that it would be relaxing for a few moments. We lay down and Just about the time I lay down and put my arms on my head, pop my back, stretch, I hear this weird noise, and I'm thinking the carport's falling in. And I glance up, and then I sit up, and just in time to watch my lawnmower coming down off the tailgate, hauling butt down the road on this hill. And there's a car at the end, and I said, Darcy, catch it, and she jumps up, takes off, sprints. Dude, my 54-year-old beautiful wife,
she's fast,
sprinted full speed and caught that mower before it hit that truck or car.
Wow.
There for a minute, the thought went through my head, oh my gosh, she's gonna fall.
Don't fall.
She start doing the wobble.
It looked comical because her top kind of got ahead of her feet. And then it kind of caught back up, and I was thinking it, and I laid back down so I wouldn't have to watch it. And I'm thinking, man, all those neighbors that heard us yell, because I'm loud. Turn around and look, and they see the man laying and the woman running.
Right.
Yeah.
And then she had to push it up the hill.
Yeah.
Before we start mowing.
Man. Are you glad you quit smoking now?
Full sprint.
No, I could still do that when I was smoking.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That's the thing.
That's how I was when I was drinking, dude. Like I realized I had a problem whenever I drank every bit of the fifth of Crown. I just had that much left in the bottle. I opened the freezer the next morning, and I was like, I drank that whole
I
thing
just
last
killed
night.
a fifth.
And then I went and ran. I PR'd a 10K the next morning. Right after I drank that thing, I went out and I ran my fastest time on a 10K out in the hills. And I looked at that and I was like, that's the fastest I've ever ran that before. I might have a problem.
Started a new habit?
Yeah, well, no. What, running?
No, drinking before you run.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's because I was still drunk. I don't know. But that's when I started to realize I had a problem. I was like, oh, man.
Well, 100 years ago when I could actually run, I do remember we were in Denver, and we were at a party, and I was drinking a lot of beer, which I don't like beer.
Yeah, no.
And I drank a lot of beer, and he drank a lot of beer, and he got in an argument. He took off running, and I went chasing him. Never run with a full belly of beer.
Yeah, did you throw up?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but
Both of us.
You can run with a full belly of tequila
Yeah.
because that alcohol has an agenda, and
Yeah.
running's part of it.
Yeah.
Running, hitting, stitches, kicking, punching. It's
My mom threw a coffee table once
We
at
do
me when
not
she was drunk on
recommend-
tequila.
we do-
Seriously.
I believe it.
We do not recommend any of this.
No.
Yeah, no.
This was stupidity that we learned.
Yeah, and
not
we
to
don't
ever
do it no
again.
more. Yeah.
Okay, we got to give otherwise they'll think we're
Promoting alcohol, yeah.
No.
I think it was funny. Like, it's funny stories.
We were human.
Like, yeah. And I was, it's like,
I don't know. I think probably the unbelievers out there can get their head around that
yeah,
and don't think that we're pushing it.
yeah.
Well, we didn't always walk with the Lord. We walked in our flesh, and our flesh was quite stupid
Yeah.
in our day.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. The roofing thing I was gonna say. I'm doing my own roofs now. And I have a guy that's working with me. One of my guys. I have Lane, and he's 21, so he's fine. He's still hurting a little bit, but I've been working out for like going on 6 years now, and there's some days I work out 6 days a week, and so like I'm not in the worst shape in the world, and this is killing me. And the other guy doesn't work out. And so he showed up today. So I wouldn't put you on a roof, Mark. I wouldn't do it to you.
No, at 56, dude, I'm done with roofing.
Yeah,
I don't
you
wanna
can't
get up
do
there
it.
Yeah,
I mean, you could. I think you could do it.
I could do it. I just don't want to pay the price.
No, I know. It would be.
It's not worth the paycheck for me.
well, I'm all set for tomorrow.
Yeah.
I changed the blades yesterday. I had to take a little time off yesterday. Monday hurt, but I developed poison ivy from one of the lawns we mowed on Saturday, and I had to go get a shot, and all that stuff took my morning, but I had to work on my mower and clean my deck and change my blades.
I'm sorry to interrupt the show real quick, but I've got to tell you something personal because I forgot to tell you, but I'm going to tell you now for when we go back tomorrow. On the right side of that gate, when you go through that gate on that house that we're roofing, there's poison ivy right there.
Are you allergic?
The where it's turning red right there, it's poison ivy.
There's several different poison ivies, so I am allergic to one. I just don't know which one.
Hey, go rub on that one.
Well,
see
I
what
can
it is.
guarantee that.
Shit, no, the
That
lady
one in that yard, I know I am allergic
the
to
lady
now.
told me yesterday, she goes, that plant that's growing on that right fence right there, she goes, that's poison ivy and you are allergic to it. So I didn't even know there's different types that you could be allergic to, but she told me for whatever reason, she told me I was allergic to it. She doesn't know anything about me. Maybe it's just like really handsome people that, that's allergic to it.
That's got to be it.
Then I wouldn't be having a rash right now.
Poison ivy almost
Well.
killed my mom.
But I also went and got a
No kidding.
She
Closed
got
her throat up.
she got it, and my mother was all about God curing. Everything was, the natural had to be cured. Don't go to man. All that. She went to a holistic doctor who gave her more poison ivy
Oh my
in
goodness.
in the form of these little white pills to take. And he said by taking the poison in the poison ivy, your body will stop having allergic reactions.
How dumb.
Oh, she blew up. It almost killed her. It was insane how much she swelled up.
That would be like a person being
Isn't
allergic to
that-
penicillin and taking it anyway.
Yeah, she got like internal poison ivy. It
Yeah.
was crazy.
How dumb, dude. That's so dumb.
Technically, yes and no, because that's what they do when they inoculate you is they give you small amounts of whatever it is they're inoculating you against so that your body has an opportunity to build up the resistance so when you face it, it's not a problem.
But I feel like it's obvious not to do that.
Poison ivy sounds like
contact.
stupid. I've never heard that one
Yeah,
before.
with contact allergies, though.
I've
Like it's
never
going
heard
to
that
contact you.
I could see maybe doing that in super small doses or preventively long before you've ever had a reaction.
Yeah, but not to get rid
in
of
the
it.
middle of it.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to say this because we got to get to our guest, but I want to say this first that we had a longer meeting than normal today, but we all sat there and we decided that for episode 50, Darcia came up with a really good idea that what we're going to do for
Darcia is my lovely wife.
Yep, they know by now.
Well, they get told every time.
But so what happened? What happens is on episode 50, what we decided we're going to do instead of having a bunch of guests on or anything, we're actually going to have no guests on. And what we're going to do is because most of the time it's us interviewing other people, getting their point of view and stuff like that. But for episode 50, what we're going to do is we are all going to sit here and we are going to talk about what the show has done for us so far, what our emotions are like, what we have been through over the episodes. I may even bring up some key moments in the previous episodes, and we'll talk about how we felt and stuff. Actually, for anybody that's listening to this right now, if you're on Spotify or any of the audio-only ones, you'll have to email us or anything else, but I'll save the emails. If you have any questions about what we were feeling during certain parts of the show, or if you have any questions at all, we will answer those questions on episode 50.
Send us in some questions that you've been wanting us to answer.
Any questions at all. And then also if you're on TikTok or anything else like that, just DM me the questions and I'll write them down and we will make it a whole thing for episode 50. So that's what we've decided to do. No guest at all now. And we're just going to talk about where we've been, how we've been feeling on the show. And we don't really talk about that amongst each other either, about how things make us feel. So it's all going to be new for us, really. I mean, we do talk very general statements about how things make us feel, but we don't go into detail about it. So it's going to be new for us to talk like that to each other. So, but anyway, we're running late today, so we got to get to our guest. Our guest today, his name is Coco Medic on social media. I believe he's an agnostic atheist, but as normal, we will get to him and listen to him about it and get his points of view. This is a really nice guy. I really like him. He's normally pretty nice to people unless they're, poo-poo heads. Coco Medic, what's up, dude?
What's up, Zach? How are you?
Good, man. I don't know why I just made it sound like a radio show. Coco Medic, hey, you're our 10th caller today. You win a free signed Larry shirt.
I am looking forward to it. I can't wait. Can I switch it for a visor, maybe though?
No, I actually got a hoodie I'm trying to get rid of.
There's Oh my goodness, yeah. You gotta see that. You gotta see that hoodie, man.
I don't know if you watched the episode where someone sent us sent me a hoodie with Larry's face all over it.
All over it.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
It was too much Larry for Larry.
And then they sent him a visor with my face on it. Why haven't you wore that again, by the way?
I missed that. I'll have to go find that one.
Yep.
Because I wear a different visor every week.
Which episode was that? So it was the one with Pastor Gary. So it was Preterish Josh, I think.
Hold on.
Okay.
Preterish Josh.
I have my list of visors so I don't duplicate.
Are you kidding me?
No.
No, Mark, he's been pulling this list out every week. He literally, before every show, he writes down his list of visors.
Yeah.
Larry?
It was episode 22.
There you go.
Episode 22.
Yes.
Got it. That
Yep.
should be easy to remember.
Larry.
Yep. 22 has the Zach visor and the Larry hoodie. And I sent a picture of that hoodie to my daughter, and I said, hey, I'm going to grab my grandkids a duplicate of this for Christmas. What do y'all think? And she said, absolutely not.
Yeah, I think you guys need to get you a little store going where the fans can come on and get that. I'd buy a hoodie with Larry's face on it.
Mm-hmm.
I got one for you.
$5.
You can have
Oh,
it.
my goodness.
Me too, man.
Even
I'd
I-
straight up buy a hoodie with Larry's face on it.
Well,
It
hey,
depends on what
right
he's
now,
doing.
we can just auction off that one of a kind Larry hoodie
Ooh.
and auction it off online to raise money for the ministry.
Dude,
There you
you're
go.
going to make like 50 cents.
So you're bidding a quarter. I got a quarter. I got a quarter.
I just
Quarter,
came up
quarter,
with an
quarter.
idea because you know how Larry waddles with his walk. What you remember those things? You remember those things where whenever you turn it different ways because of the material and how it looked like an illusion.
The
where it
hologram,
did-
yeah.
And so whenever we can wear the shirts when you're walking and you get different lights, you'll see Larry going.
Walking. Yeah.
That's a great idea, dude. Larry's mad at me.
I'm like,
After all
think-
those feelings
hey,
shared about
hey.
I know.
mutual
Okay,
respect, you just
Do
He's like, all right, buddy.
do I still waddle?
say no.
I don't know. I don't have it.
Not as much. Not as much.
Really?
Because
I
my
don't pay
legs aren't
attention.
hurting as much.
Really?
No, I've been going without the knee braces.
Even
Yeah.
4 weeks now.
since ibuprofen, they feel fine.
Oh, what do you mean?
So you lowered your dose of ibuprofen.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel better than what you were when you were taking
Since
ibuprofen?
I've lowered my ibuprofen, since I'm on natural stuff, which I don't even know what the heck it is,
Yeah.
and I quit wearing my knee braces, and let's not forget, I was prayed for twice,
Yeah.
and then I claimed my promises from God and started walking on those promises. My legs have not hurt as bad. Do they hurt? Yes, occasionally, but not as much. And I
Okay.
even stepped in a hole the other day
Oh wow.
and managed to make it through it without dying.
You were still taller than me, probably,
Yeah.
in the hole.
Yeah, I only went down to 4 or 5 inches.
That makes me mad too.
I
by the
still
way.
had 4 or 5 inches to go before it'd be anywhere close to your height.
That makes me mad, dude. See, we were doing good pre-meeting. We were fine, and then now we're roasting each other. See, we're just back to normal. Coco.
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 Still with us?
Coco's
We
like, I
still
think
here.
they forgot about me.
No, I think he's been watching the show long enough that he knows that we do this sometimes.
Yeah.
So we were talking before we brought you on. You're an agnostic atheist, right? Or just straight up atheist?
No, I think agnostic atheist is an appropriate term there. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, you I really enjoy interviewing the people that have like the similar approach to people that I do. Like, I get to where I don't like, because I was telling oh my gosh, why did I forget his name? Dave, Agnostic Evangelist.
Oh, Dave. Yeah, he's a good friend of mine. Yeah.
One of our followers who's a Christian kind of sent a pretty like ramped up message or a comment to him, and he went back after her, and she messaged me and he messaged me privately.
Whining.
Yeah, whining. They were both whining to me, and then
Oh,
I told her she's a Christian. I told her, I said, hey.
That's
She was
on
like,
you,
"Am I
girl."
wrong for saying this?" And I said,
Yeah.
"Hey, listen, man. I'm like, what do you expect? Like, you throw shade, and you expect them to just be like, you're right, and move on." I was like, unless you won't, you don't want heat, don't get in the kitchen. You know what I mean? And then I told Dave, I said,
You told a woman not to get in the kitchen?
yeah,
I have a question. And this is to
This is Coco Medic. Coco Medic. Yeah.
Coco Medic. Words mean things to me. They have
Yeah.
they have definitions. So it's one of my pet peeves about the generation we're living in. because so many words have been redefined. And so I'm curious about what agnostic atheist means. I've understood that agnostic means without knowledge. Atheist is inherent denial that there is a God. And it seems like those two, it's like it's an oxymoron. Could you explain to me? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think looking at it from that way, I could definitely see how that could cause some confusion. I think you're spot on with the agnostic. It's, I don't have knowledge of a God. Somebody who claims to be Gnostic would say that I know that there is a God. Being agnostic, I take the I don't know position.
Right.
When you get down to theism, the way I understand that is that has to deal with belief. So atheism is just the answer to the question, do you believe in a God or gods? I don't, so I'm an atheist. I don't, I have some videos where I do state that there is no God, but, inside I don't know that to be true. I have to take the agnostic stance there and say that I don't know. I don't know that I could know. But as far as theism, to me, that means belief. And since I don't hold the belief in God, I take the atheist stance on there too. As far as rejecting a belief in God, I think that kind of goes more to the anti-theist, would be an appropriate term for that.
Okay.
Okay. So it's like you're an open-minded atheist.
Yeah, I think that would be, I'm looking, I got TikTok videos. I'm asking people for evidence and proofs all the time. I'm definitely open-minded and looking for it.
Well, he brought up something, and I've never actually thought of this before. I've never even thought about this answer for myself, really, but he brought up the word Gnostic, and he said that that's where people claim to know that there's a God.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I know your answer to this question, so I'm going to go to Mark first. Do you know that there's a God, or do you believe there's a God? That's a tough question, huh?
It's interesting. I can remember a point in a period of my life when I believed there was a God. I didn't like that God because my conception of him was skewed by a bunch of stuff, my own self, really. It wasn't until my abject failure and then being reborn and my powerlessness and then being reborn and his miraculous hand in my life on 2 or 3 separate occasions that I believed in a God, and then I know there's a God.
So you're at no now, but you weren't always there.
Right.
What about, I know what you're going to say, but I'm still interested in your thought process. Do you believe there's a God, or do you know?
I believe in the God that I know personally.
Okay. There you go.
Fair enough answer.
Yeah, I like that answer. Okay.
The amazing thing is when we interviewed my brother on episode 5, I actually wrote all the definitions down. So that's why I grabbed my notebook. I have the definition for agnostic, deism, atheist, and I wrote them down so that because I was dealing with my brother who claimed to be agnostic, so I actually have the dictionary definitions right here.
Coco, I want to jump right to something that I saw one of your videos that was super interesting to me today. It was where you were explaining basically how whenever you first started to depart from God, essentially that you sat down and you had a conversation with God. Can you tell me what that conversation was with God and how it went, and as detailed as you would like to be with that? What was that process like?
Yeah, I'll try not to. I think I kind of summed it up in the video there, but I had spent. It was just one of those kind of growing up as a young adult. I had kind of been around everybody that I was around knew and believed in God, Jesus. It was a very big part of my childhood. So kind of as I started growing and thinking more, I had questions, and people in that group weren't able to really answer questions for me. I was getting a lot of, pray about it, talk to God, and I'd actually done that for some time before the conversation you're talking about. I'd spent some time, meditating, praying before I'd start reading the Bible and things like that, and was still just not really feeling like I was getting the answers that I was looking for. So I did. I had a little prayer, and just kind of like I'm sitting here talking to you, and just said, I've got questions. I'm not getting answers to them. I feel like I'm trying here. I understand if you are who they say you are, you can understand that I've got to go ask some questions. And I hope that, if I find my way back, I hope you can forgive me sometime. But I really I need to get out there and kind of do some exploring for myself and kind of see what I could do. It was just, hey, I'm sorry it's kind of come to this, but this is something I need to do for myself, and I hope you understand, and I hope you'll be there and willing to forgive me if I do decide to come back.
So those questions that you had for other people that you had to go ask, did you ever ask God those questions?
I would think so. A lot of those questions had to deal with, I had a big problem with hell as a child. It was terrifying for me. And I guess always kind of had this thought that I didn't truly believe, and I was going to end up in hell because of that. So for me, a lot of those questions, were around hell, and it would be like, how could you send somebody like me that I've got a little bit of doubt, but I was being told that I'm going to go to hell because of that. And, I didn't really have anybody kind of like the people around me today where knowing where the stories about hell in the Bible came from, and that the stuff that I was actually being told that hell was didn't actually occur in the Bible.
So you were, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you were told, when you were younger, when you were a practicing Christian, you were told that if you doubted, you'd go to hell?
Yeah. Zach, one night I had a youth church service, and the pastor, they made a bonfire that night, and he gave his sermon around the bonfire, and just every few minutes throughout his sermon, he would actually have us kids in this group step closer and closer to the fire, so we would start to understand the agony and pain that we would feel in hell if we didn't live our lives the right way. You
have a problem with that?
Sounds like he's got a lot of problems.
Yeah, you do have a problem with that? I honestly, sitting here listening to this, and I'm going to be vulnerable and honest, because there is part of me that goes, little much, dude. But then there's also part of me too that, because you have to understand, man, if what we believe is true, crap, we lost him. To all the fans, we lost him. We're trying to get him back. But we're going to talk about another subject right now before we get him out, and we'll try to pick back up when he calls back. So that's crazy.
Can you shoot him a text to let him actually know? Sometimes text will go through when a call won't.
That's crazy. But Mark doesn't believe hell exists.
Well, I don't believe the modern or the conception of this place where you are in eternal torture. I don't believe.
You believe in destruction, like it's a destruction?
I was raised Seventh-day Adventist, and I was taught that hell is the grave, and that if you're not in Christ Jesus, you will be thrown into the lake of fire at the end of the judgment. But otherwise, if hell was an existing place that you died and immediately went to, then what?
Unknown caller.
There it is.
Okay, so we'll talk about this.
Okay, so Mark was just going into something, but we're going to pick back up and then Mark's going to start back where he was saying. So
I'm going to remind you that we actually didn't do any introductions for Coco here.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I started to say poor little Coco, and I figured that was pretty condescending.
Coco, do you know who everybody in the room is?
He was.
Oh, he's not on the. Hold on, Coco. Sorry.
How's it not hooking in?
It says he's connected, so sometimes you have to do this.
Okay. Hello?
Okay, Coco, do you know who everybody in the room is?
Yeah, I know you, Larry, Mark, the other Larry, Angela.
Yep.
Did I miss anybody?
Darcia's in here, but she won't talk.
Right.
Unless I throw the mic
Okay.
at her, you might talk
Is
to.
that Larry's wife?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
So-
Nice to meet everybody.
All right, Coco, can I ask you a quick question and then just so I can write down a few things? You said that you basically were, raised up in church. What church were you raised in?
So that's another thing. I don't know that I really have the answer to that. I mean, I had actually asked my mom one time as a kid, like what a religion was or what a denomination was. And I was pretty much told that it was kind of like Christianity, but it was we were the true one, and the ones that were kind of like us, but doing things a little bit differently. That's what religion and denomination was. So I didn't even realize until I was an adult that it was probably something along the Pentecostal or Church of Christ, very fundamentalist. But honestly, Larry, I couldn't tell you.
I would kind of list that as a Christian church.
Okay, yeah.
Kind of a non-denominational Christian church setting, which is kind of follows the guidelines between what you just mentioned.
I mean, most Christians are like, "Hey, we're doing it right, you're not." So
I don't understand that.
Okay,
and I grew up Pentecostal. What's your age, Coco?
I'm 32.
Okay.
That's not even close to a pin clicker.
No, but it gives me an idea of roughly what time he was in the youth program, which would be predominantly when they were a little bit out there for a while.
Yeah, it was real big in the rapture culture in the 90s.
Late 90s, early 2000s, right?
Yeah, that was it, yep.
And some of them had a little radical approach to that. I grew up doing the bonfires and stuff as well, but we never had anybody had us stand closer to the fire because, well, typically I was jumping over it anyway, so that wouldn't have bothered me. But, I was a crazy kid. But, yeah, I just wanted to get that information down.
Okay, so before you hung up, here's where we were. I was saying that I had mixed emotions about the bonfire thing because if what I was saying is if what we believe in is true, then I think we owe it to people to warn them about hell. But maybe not because it does say in the Bible that some are going to be saved by fear, but then some are going to be saved for the thoughts of glory of God, right? For the gloriousness of God. And so for me, it's like, man, we should probably really warn people about this, but then also Jonah came to me last week and they said that they taught him about Isaac and Jacob, the story of Isaac and Jacob, whenever God told him to kill his son. And I just kind of hit this pit in my stomach for a minute. I was like, whoa, little young there, bud. Come on, little young to be telling my kid about that story. They're too young to process that, which I still agree with the leadership here in this church and stuff. If they feel like he's old enough to do it, that's fine. But it kind of hit me a little bit in the stomach. I was like, maybe a little young. You know what I mean? To be saying stuff like that. But
yeah, but at the same time, what is the TV showing your child?
Right, YouTube and everything else, right?
I mean, you're
horrible,
right now. How
horrible.
old your boy?
6.
Okay,
yeah.
And he's playing video games.
Probably, yeah,
And he's killing people.
Yeah.
We don't really let them play.
So I mean, yeah, but I mean, nowadays they're exposed to it. Is basically what I'm saying. They're exposed to killing people on these video games to
just go to
inoculate
one
them
Marvel
against
movie.
feeling. Against having any, they're inoculating the kids against having feeling about killing or about fighting because it's a normal reaction on the video game. So why would it, in that particular sense, We do
Okay.
have to learn about death.
So I don't know why it bothered me, but I'm just telling you, this was last weekend. So this was Sunday, like 3 days ago or whatever.
Yeah.
So all I know is when he told me that, it hit me, and I was questioning whether it was too young or not, because it's impossible. Like, I understand the story of Isaac and Jacob now, but I didn't understand it till I was in my mid 30s. It was like, oh, okay, kind of,
Isaac and Jacob.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Abraham and Isaac.
Abraham and Isaac.
Sorry.
Isaac was
Sorry.
Jacob's father.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay.
But anyway, I want to get to this because whenever I was talking about that, the concept of hell, Mark dropped a bombshell on us.
Yes.
Mark said,
And we're bringing it up.
I said I don't believe in many of the Christians' definition of hell.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, I was raised in a church that, and I'm going to say this, and I hope I don't offend anybody.
someone got mad at you for talking bad about the
hey.
Seventh-day Adventists last week, by the way.
right? I bet
Go,
they did.
go for it.
That frankly views God as more of a just God, meaning that hell has an end. Hell is the grave. Hell is separation from God. It says in Revelation that the dead will be judged, and the ones that do not have the blood of Jesus Christ, because the law will condemn everyone, they will go into eternal life, and the rest will be thrown into the lake of fire. This is the second death.
But it also says where the smoke from their torment goes up forever and ever.
It does say that, but why would they call it death? And I totally understand. We've talked to many agnostics, atheists, witches that all have a problem with what seems to them like a really sadistic, cruel entity. And this is not a salvation issue. I won't argue with somebody and say, it's necessary you believe this way, but I grasp that kind of sentiment is okay, well, because God created me. I get that he's the owner, but what kind of God would condemn me to everlasting, nonstop torment if I'm made in his image? Why? So I have an issue with that too, because but it's not about me in it. Like I've met so many people like Coco that's on the phone right now. And, it's hard for me to believe that God would send the guy I'm talking to on the phone right now, the guy that I've been watching videos of. It's hard for me to wrap my head around that he would send him to hell forever and ever. Right. There's the result.
Thank you, Zach.
What does the Bible say? The Bible says that the result of sin is death, not eternal torture.
I just want to point this out, Christians. That me and
I know I'm stepping in.
I think okay, hold on. I think I'm more on the side that I believe there is a hell from the scriptures.
Right.
But I'm sharing my personal feeling that I don't want to think about Coco going to hell. I don't want to think about that.
I don't either.
And because I think me and him are probably a lot alike. Like he just doesn't believe in God, right? Which is a big deal. Don't get me wrong, but
well, I think
but forever eternal punishment like that, it's a very hard concept for me.
Well, I think it's a religious construct, and I think it's one of the things that's driving God's children out of his hands.
Yeah.
I gotta agree with you there. Yeah,
This is my opinion.
So hell's the whole thing that's holding you up. Larry's looking at scriptures. He's going to read some here in a minute, but hell's the whole thing about you. And Coco, I'm going to be honest with you. I tend to probably believe there is a hell based off of scriptures, but I can see why it'd push you away. I don't want there to be a hell. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Just a little, I guess, correction. Maybe I don't know if that's the right word. It wasn't just that. That was kind of what got the gears turning, I think. And then it was just kind of looking. It was really more, getting around more open-minded people, studying in college and stuff like that, that I really wasn't able to reconcile a God belief with some of my other understandings of the world. So, I didn't answer your question there, and I actually forgot what you said. I was leading up to the question. So what was the question you actually had for me? I apologize.
Well, I was just what's your, so I'm going to move on from that question. Hold on. So
Oh, it was about the hell thing. Yeah, I guess
I want to
kinda
talk
did
about.
that.
I want to talk. You're writing a book about religious trauma.
Yeah.
If can you give us a couple things if you're willing to be vulnerable and tell a story about what kind of religious trauma, or give us a story of a religious trauma that you have experienced before.
So a lot of like, I don't even know that I have a hard time, comparing my stuff because, like, to me, it doesn't seem that bad.
Well, when
when
you
I
talk
hear
to when you talk to LG, it makes us all of our experiences sound not
Yeah.
that bad.
Oh
You know
my
what I
gosh.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
bro, honestly, because I know you're. You guys don't know who LG Gray is, but she's a comedian and she's an atheist, and she's a very outspoken atheist. And I've talked to her in private a couple times, and her story is crazy. And the reason why I have not had her on yet is I have her phone number. She has mine. I just have not reached out to her yet because I do not think we're ready to have her on the show.
Is that
yet.
the one that plays the piano?
Yeah.
Or grew?
Yeah.
Or was the one that played piano in church?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think we're ready to have her on yet. I don't know if I'm equipped with what it would take to handle that properly. And to stay on mission for what this show has to do. I don't think I'm ready for her, and I would probably just cry the whole time, and that's not a good look. So,
I can agree.
yeah, thanks, man.
That's not a good look for
I
you
know,
to be crying.
I know. I've only cried on 2 episodes. Give me a break. But
I listen. We're taught by society as men that we are not supposed to have feelings.
yeah,
Well, guess what? God incorporated the feelings into us, so therefore we do have feelings,
yeah,
and it's a lie from the enemy that we are not supposed to be emotional.
yeah, yeah.
I'm letting you know that it's best to be emotional about that.
Coco, so
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, that a lot of people now that have like real religious trauma in
Right.
quotation marks, but I don't think you should minimize yours either. I think that's not it's not
Sure.
okay to do that.
Yeah. So
I
for
wouldn't mind
me,
hearing a story.
A lot of mine was just kind of like what I told you about the bonfire thing. That was probably one of the most traumatic things I went to. Like it was a little extreme, just like the thoughts that I was left with leaving there. I mean, nightmares for months, praying myself to sleep, that kind of stuff. Just being in that kind of terror as a child was a little traumatic.
Did you ever have a positive side to your relationship with God at all? Ever?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, we've had, my grandfather was, he actually had, an altar call at his funeral, if that tells you anything.
Wow.
And so anything around him, that had to deal with religion has been great. I remember one time I went to a Baptist church and as an adult and really just, I can't even remember what I was struggling with at the time, but the preacher talked about he had lost him and his wife were having twins, and they had lost one of the twins during birth, and I think I was dealing with a faith issue because that's what his message ended up getting to. But it was basically after he had lost the twin, he was out in the hallway praying or thanking God for the child that did survive or something. And another person had actually walked down the hall, went through a similar situation, had lost the child, but asked him, like, how could you be thanking God after going through something like this? And he was actually able to bring that guy to God. And at the time, that was a real positive message for me. It was something, like I said, struggling with the faith. It was good to hear at the time. So yeah, I've had positive messages. I've had great interactions with Christians. It's I'm not one of these that says it's all bad or all Christians.
Okay, so I don't mean with
That's a dangerous thing too.
Christians. I don't mean with Christians. I
Yeah.
don't mean with religion. I don't mean with pastors. I don't mean any of that stuff. I mean, like, you talk about the fear you had of God, but did you ever have positive experiences with God himself? Like, and I know you say you don't know if you don't believe it, but I'm saying, like, hypothetically,
Yeah.
if at the time it could have been God, because I mean, anybody that would just be raised the entire time with nothing but fear, anybody would find a way to walk away from that. That's why I'm
Sure.
asking, did you ever have anything positive, you and God one-on-one?
Man, I would have to say either no or I don't know. In that, I like I said before, we would have conversations, or I would talk to God. We'll put it that way. I don't know if it was a conversation because I'd never really heard anything back, so it's hard to kind of call it a relationship. I actually had a conversation with a friend about that, struggling with faith stuff. He had told me, pray about it. And I told him, I pray all the time, but I don't hear God talking back. What's that look like? And, talked to him about that, and actually made a joke to him about being more of a burning bush type guy. Like, if God would just talk to me through a burning bush, I would get it. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know that I've ever really had that kind of relationship or anything like that, because I've never really felt that it was there.
I wanted to say something.
I
wanted to say something earlier. I just wanted to give you my experience in my relationship with God. That whenever you said you had a bunch of you had a bunch of questions that you went and started asking pastoral staff and stuff like that. I've had a lot of those same questions, and I tend to go and I ask everyone these questions because I like getting different perspectives on it. And whenever I go asking those questions, that's exactly what I get, as I get different perspectives. And then you just kind of have to rest on what you believe is true based off the scriptures that you're reading, right? And it got confusing and I hated it. So if what we believe is true, then we should be able to go directly to God because of what Jesus did on the cross. And so that's exactly what I do. Do I get an answer all the time? No, I don't. But I have a few times. And one of the biggest questions I had recently was for a couple months, and I've kept this one quiet. I haven't really asked anyone this because I knew that I probably wouldn't get the answer I'd like, and it would frustrate me more. And so one of the questions was that the concept that I have to be covered by the blood of Jesus to be saved. And and that whenever I go to heaven, God won't see me, he'll see Jesus only. And I was like, God, why, my question was, why am I not good enough to go to heaven? Why do you have to see Jesus? Am I that bad? Am I that bad that you have to see Jesus? Like, do you not love me, Zach? And I had that question for a couple months, man. And then I was interviewing Pagan Allen, and he had that same question. And God answered Alan's question through me. It was insane. It was the craziest thing I'd ever experienced, an answer to a question. But when Alan brought up that question, I go, oh man, I've been having this same question. And I was very interested in hearing Mark's perspective on it and Larry's perspective, because I was like, please God have some sort of answer here for someone, because I wanted to know the answer to this too. And it popped in my head. I heard him, God tell me in my head, John 3:16. And John 3:16 is, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. And we always say that because we memorize that verse. Listen how I just said it. It was very cadency. Like I was
saying it right there along with you.
Yeah, you can tell that I had it memorized. Everyone has that verse memorized. It's probably, if not the most popular verse in the Bible. It's
most
one
known.
Yeah. And so, but if you actually look at that Bible verse, in that Bible verse is the answer to that question. And it's a very difficult question. What's the first thing it says? For God so loved the world, not because God loved Jesus, it was because he loved you. So because God loves Zach, and because God loved Mark, because God loves Larry, God loves Coco, that's why he sent Jesus. He actually loved you first. You see what I'm saying? And so when God answered that question to me, I was like, oh. So that also got me thinking about other questions that I have, right?
Right.
That there's probably an answer to all of them, and there's a reason why God's not giving them to me. That's why it says to trust him. And I kind of get why you wouldn't know. I kind of get why you wouldn't, because sometimes bad things do happen. When we put our trust in something, whenever I say I trust Larry, if he ever screws me over too bad, I'm not going to trust him anymore. Right?
Right.
But that's human. But when we trust God, sometimes bad things still happen, and then people will tell you to still trust God. So I get why there's this nuance, because we're looking, did I say that word right? Wow. So I get why there's this thing between people where we look at God from these human lenses, and I'm just sharing my experience with you right now. Like, I'm not like I'm sitting here trying to teach you anything. I'm just showing you from my perspective that we try to put God on this human standard, and that when bad things happen to us, that he did it and that he let us down. And so why would I trust someone when they let you down, when maybe he's not? And maybe there is an answer to all the questions, and maybe there's a good reason why he's not giving you the answer to them. But if you go directly to him, he'll give you the answer. He'll give you the answers to some of them. And that's what I'm saying. And I don't know. That's just my personal experience, man. I don't want to shove it down your throat or anything, but
No, I don't feel like you are at all. I feel like you're, sharing a perspective there. And I know you don't debate here or anything, but I think another question, like the one I really struggle with that goes back to what you're talking about is, if God really is there and he created all this, and there is a heaven or there is a hell, and maybe it's not brimstone and fire, it's something different, maybe it's eternal, maybe it's not. We're playing by his rules. So for God so loved the world that he sent his only son, why did it have to be that way? Why did he have to set it up in such a way that we have to go to hell and he has to send his son to forgive us for the rules that he created? It's a big circle loop that just
you're saying
doesn't
so.
make sense.
Basically, what you're saying is, you think God could have created a world to where he would have never tempted, or Adam and Eve never would have been tempted, and we still would have populated the earth, and we all would have been fine, right? Is that kind of basically? Am I giving a synopsis of that?
Yeah, I'd word it a little differently, but basically, if God is all powerful and the creator, he could have created it in such a way that this system wouldn't be necessary. If he wanted to forgive us, he could have done it without sacrificing his own.
I don't have the answer. I don't even have a concept to answer that. Larry, you do?
I don't either.
Larry, you're doing this little head bobble thing.
I'm sorry.
That's when I know he's got something.
All right, let's hear it, Larry.
To a degree. Okay. I am not a scholar. I am not an educator. I just know what I was taught growing up, and I know that what I've read in the Bible. All right. First off, we stick with John 3:16, but what does John 17 say?
You'll have to read that one, bub.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to read it. I'm sorry, Larry.
John 3:16, that's the only one I've memorized.
For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. Okay? Through him. Whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe stands condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of God's one and only Son. The reason God created this system, he already had, think this through. He created angels to worship him. They really didn't have, they didn't really have a choice. But they did, but they didn't, and I'm gonna touch base with that. Okay.
Mark disagrees with you. You guys are going to get in a debate today.
No, not really.
I would let that debate go. I would let that one go, dude.
God created the heavens and the angels there to worship him.
Right. Angels are one level below humans.
Okay. Then,
or will be.
Right, he wanted to create something that literally had a choice. Okay? So he created, in his image, man. Right? Man and woman. I'm old school, so when I say man, I mean mankind, not just males. But he created males and females in his image to worship him, by choice. Well, they wouldn't have been able to make that choice if there wasn't a choice. And I truthfully believe the Bible says that all things were created for God. All right? He created all things for his pleasure.
For his good pleasure.
But what
Yeah, for his
Coco,
good pleasure.
let me add on to the.
So when he created Satan, see, we see, oh, well, this Lucifer, who was the angel of angels, the worship leader, the most beautiful angel there is.
So this is why people have problems with hell, because I'm going to ask you this question, and Mark, you can put your thoughts in this, and what Coco's basically saying here is God created a system, right, knowing that some people would not choose him and would suffer in hell eternally. And what kind of good God would create even one person knowing that they would go into eternal punishment?
God created the person. He gave you that option of choice. He gave you a choice. If I stood here and said I had no choice but to serve God,
it's not love, right?
Then it's not because I have an emotional attachment to God. It is not because it is my choice. My choice for many years was to run from God.
Yeah.
And I had knowledge of God.
It's a tough question. What's your thoughts on that, Mark?
But if there is eternal torture, then choice is an illusion.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't have a choice. If that were true,
I gotta agree with you there.
If
yes,
that were true, I
definitely.
have no choice. I am not signing up for eternal torture.
Hell was not created for humans.
Yeah, right. But what I'm saying is the way I view God, and I'm thankful. You know, to me, it's the punishment is being away from God, and the end of me, the end of life, because that's what the Bible says. The result of sin is death. Death is the end. So if you're internally tortured, that means that you have eternal life. But God said the gift of Jesus Christ.
Your soul is eternal. Your body is flesh. Your body's death is different than your soul's never-ending death.
I can see that view too.
That would be the second death, that it goes on forever. It's not a instant stop.
Remember,
I just like mine better.
well, remember, if we talk about this,
But I get it.
we even, especially in here, if we talk about this, we can talk about it, but it stays respectful, because you have to respect Mark's views too on this.
I do.
Because
Yeah,
I know
I
you
know.
do. I know you do. I'm just reminding
We're too
everyone.
good of friends to.
I know.
disagree
I'm
over
reminding.
that, right?
But
We'll
like,
probably be talking about it a lot tomorrow.
right? Yeah. So
yeah, we
so-
do a men's Bible study together.
Coco, you agree with Mark in that whole sentiment that it's not really a choice if you're given the choice between eternal punishment and
Okay, so if it was a
Yeah.
separation, let me clarify something. If it was a separation of God, and that was the only punishment, is that for eternity you would be completely alone in the darkness, not in any form of light, but in a complete darkness, completely alone. No torture, nothing, just alone.
Well, it's the same thing. That's not death.
Um,
I don't know.
when you say separation from God and then translate it to just being alone, like to me, those two aren't the same thing. Are you saying like? Are you asking me when I die if hell is just me sitting there observing nothingness, blackness, not hearing anything, not feeling anything? Is that what you're asking?
Well, actually, I'm asking the question to get clarity on what your definition or Mark's definition of y'all both brought up the lake of fire. You both brought up the torture and let's see, the worms that never die, the gnawing and gnashing of teeth.
But you believe Satan
lake of
goes
fire,
there, right? Do you believe Satan goes to hell forever and ever?
I don't know. I think everybody's gonna fire will purify and burn to the degree of your sin, and then you're dead. That's what I believe. I don't know what Satan's design is. I mean, that may be the smoke that rises forever. And
Well,
ever.
the way the Bible says this,
got a lot
there
of
is
sin to
eternal
atone for.
punishment for Satan and his angels, and for the 1/3. That's for sure. Yeah, I guess
because they too literally had a choice,
right?
But Satan was able to drag a third with him.
That agree with his mindset.
1/3.
Coco, I have a question. I know this. I know this is a hard one to say yes to, and you may not say yes, and that's fine. But do you think it's possible that we're being tricked, that there really is a Satan, and that we're getting, and that you possibly could be getting tricked, that
How about deceived?
God is this? Well, I try to stay away from common Christian terminologies. And deceived, it like you're being deceived.
Well,
That's
they use that in a
Christian
court. You know.
Yeah, I know. But you're being duped. You're being tricked. You're being you're because honestly, that's the way I look at it. That like if Satan really does exist, and he really does have a goal to keep you away from God, then he really does know how God operates, and he can devise a plan. And he's way older than us. First of all, who knows how old he is?
He knows that Bible better than you do too.
Well, that's what
Amen
I'm
to
saying.
that.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think it's possible you're being tricked and God really is good? Do you think that's a possibility? And I mean, if he does exist?
No, I don't. I don't think there's anybody there to be doing any tricking unless it's kind of the higher ups in the church or the religious leaders. I think are the only people that are doing the tricking.
Gotcha. What would you need to see to bring you back to Christianity? What would have to happen?
You know, I actually made a video answering this question about a week ago, and my answer to that is I don't know. But if God is all-knowing or all-powerful, he knows and has the ability to show me, and he hasn't yet. So I'm left to assume either he doesn't exist or he doesn't want me to know he exists.
Eric said that to me too. Eric said that. So
yeah,
that's an interesting.
That's it, man. I can't sit here and tell you anything that I know of that would convince me. I mean, I could tell you if God came down and said, "Hey, here I am," I would, you know, there would be so many other things, a hallucination, a dream of just being deceived by somebody else. Hell, maybe being deceived by the devil. I don't know.
So we had a girl in the show named Haley, and she went into did you remember she went into the float tank, that story, and that she was trying to conjure demons essentially, and then
the evil spirits. Yeah, I remember that one.
And then Jesus showed up and reached out his hand and said, "It's time to follow me." Would that be enough?
That's kind of the same thing. I think what she was doing there is she kind of have you heard of shamanism, like indigenous practices, how they've got the drumming or the dancing, or there's certain extreme situations, extreme dehydration, the Native American vision journeys, they put their bodies in this intense state of stress.
Yeah.
A lot of shamans do that to do their vision journeys. And this is a situation that would basically get somebody in that trance-like state. And if something like that were to happen to me, I would assume that it was something that happened essentially under what would be kind of like hypnosis or something like that. Yeah.
And I guess it wouldn't be illogical to think that either. I mean, I get that. That's why I only have a few examples to go off of. And that's why the stories I've heard over these last 40, what are we on now? 45, 40? 45 episodes. I only have a few to go off of. That's why, because genuinely, Coco, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I literally am just trying to figure out what's in people's hearts and what's in people's heads. Why they don't, like why people think the way they do. Because I really feel like I can grasp the understanding of why everyone thinks the way they do. Like that's what I think it makes me be able to relate to so many people on this show, is because like I don't think you're nuts for thinking the way you do. And I appreciate you not thinking I'm nuts for thinking the way I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there are people out there that do think I'm nuts. So it's just hard. It's kind of, it's hard because at the end of the day, I think like, what if it is true, man? Like, do you ever sit down and think about that? Like, what if it really is true? And like, you really are on the wrong path. Do you get scared at all about that anymore? Worried at all? Does it ever pop in your head and you go, crap, dude, what if this is true?
Not anymore. I did for a while there, even after like that conversation with God I told you about. I was like, oh crap, what if something happens while I'm on this little break from God, and like the timing was just bad, I blew it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something I definitely used to worry about. But not anymore. To me, I mean, I almost like find humor in it. It's a weird coping thing, I think, but yeah, no.
Hey, this is crazy, but I just had an idea pop in my head because he lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But you know what I think would be really cool if we had him, if we had him come in studio one of these days, and help us interview maybe a person that doesn't believe. I don't know why I felt that just like pop up real quick. That maybe that would create some sort of interesting dynamic.
Yeah. I'll trust your leadership on that.
So. I don't know. I don't know if you'd be willing to do something like that, Coco.
I'm honored that you would even consider it. I'd love to.
Well, I hate to tell you, but I think it was the Holy Spirit talking to me there. But I know you.
You know what? It may have been. I don't know.
I think he was just trying to get me to come get you. Is what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
He knows. He knows I get to.
Well,
he knows I can get to Tulsa in an hour and a half.
Actually, I'm gonna buy Larry a motorcycle, and I'm gonna make you ride on the back of it.
Oh,
that breaks all the rules, and those are God-given rules.
Yeah,
I broke all the rules.
What's on your visor, by the way? Don't say Hot Wheels, because if it's Hot Wheel, I'm gonna walk out.
That is a flaming motorcycle.
Yeah, gosh, dang it,
that's what I thought.
Man,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just I don't know. I thought of that. It just popped in my head like things do, and I couldn't hold it in. I had to tell you that I think that would be an interesting dynamic. Because I know you're writing a book on religious trauma, and I think it's valid. I have religious trauma. I know I've told this story on the podcast, but I'll tell it again. But this traumatized me, man. Where my sister was a little older. And I love my sister, man. I used to pray every night. Because I'm a lot more selfish than I used to be. But I used to pray every night that I would die before every one of my family members because I didn't want to know what it was like to lose them. And I don't know and I dang sure don't pray that now. I'm like, take them, God, me last. You know what I mean? It's like, it's different now because we get tainted with our adult life and stuff. But I remember the youth pastor and another one of the pastors telling my sister that she was going to go to hell if she didn't change the way she was living her life. And these were like leaders I looked up to, and I love my sister. And I'm like, what? Like, oh, I don't want my sister to go to hell. She's doing, and she was like seeing boys and stuff like that, things that most teenagers do. Except my daughter, she will meet God sooner than what she needs to. But anyway, it's one of those things where I was like, no, why would you? No, my sister's going to hell. But then a couple months later, that youth pastor got caught stealing from the church. And that same guy that told her to go to hell, that was traumatizing to me.
No. And you said told her to go to hell.
No, told her she was going to hell.
Okay, my mom told me I was going to go to hell if I didn't change my ways.
Yeah. No, but he told her that because she was the way she was living her life. But then the same guy that told her that embezzled from the church like 10 grand or
all
something. All
things
like
done in the darkness will come into the light. The Bible says that.
Yeah. And so that was traumatizing for me.
All things done in the darkness will come into the light. Now I'll share. I was sitting here thinking, Lord, I don't want to share my religious trauma. God, and I'm not sure he wants me to share this, but all things done in the dark will come to light. My first religious trauma was when I was about 11 years old. And what do little boys do in the bathroom alone? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
right? And
That's rhetorical, right?
right.
Well,
My
I do. I
mother-
do.
That's
a bunch
definitely
of stuff in the
rhetorical. Please
bathroom.
don't answer the question.
My mother told me that I was sinning. I guess caught me or figured out that I was doing that in the bathroom and told me that she was going to have the deacons and the pastor come to the house if I ever did it again and pray over me. And so that began my war with religion.
How embarrassing, man. That's
Yeah.
embarrassing, bro.
I didn't.
No. I thought it was at 7 you got the bacon.
No,
And then
okay.
at 11 you got
So
that,
it
huh?
was maybe 8 or 9, maybe 10 for the bacon. I don't
Okay.
have my years right. Yeah.
All right.
And then after that, then I get told you put unclean meat in your mouth. You're going, that's against God. You're going, that's sin. You're going to hell. So yeah, so religious trauma, we all have it.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do they explain the vision that Peter had?
I know. Take and
Don't name anything that I
Have
made
called clean.
unclean.
Yeah.
Oh, you got roasted by a Seventh-day Adventist last week, dude. I posted a clip, and Seventh-day Adventists don't like you anymore, bro.
Well,
You done messed up.
didn't like that religion for a very long time, but yeah, I would make that illustration. Mom, if I can't eat pork, then why? God can't illustrate the truth with a lie. If he says he's made the unclean clean, not only is he's talking about the Gentiles, but all of that food too.
Yes.
No, absolutely not.
But we've had this.
Yes, I know.
But
and
the-
therefore
but the-
the religious trauma.
Therefore, the religious.
Didn't make
trauma.
sense.
Coco,
Yeah.
one last question. We'll do the rounds.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
we identify with you, Coco, or I do.
Are you truly happy?
Am I happy? I think so. Yeah. I think I am.
Why do you say I think?
Well, I mean,
You deal with struggles.
I think happiness is a journey. Yeah. You've got your struggles that come up, but man, I've got a good job. I've got a great community around me. Got a happy marriage, going to school. I just feel, I'm going to say blessed. I have a hard time saying that word. I just feel
Yeah.
blessed. I've got something to be happy about, man. It is. Yeah.
I'll tell you one
I
of
am happy.
I'll tell you one of this show's secrets that I don't know if I've shared on air before, but we
Yeah.
purposely stay away from saying typically religious because we truly created this show for people that don't believe in God. That's what we created
Right.
this show for. And so in order for us to do that, in order for us to cater to the people who don't believe, we don't use those words that make you guys feel uncomfortable, like the words of, like Larry sometimes says, removing the scales from your eyes, right? And that's a Bible verse.
yeah.
And he's shaking it, he doesn't, Larry is just very old school and he just, Larry's going to say some of that stuff, but we try to avoid some of those terminologies because we know you're at the place where you're just like, ugh, blessed and scales over your eyes. What was another one? Debauchery, stuff like that,
He's using normal. First off, I read New King James. Okay.
Yeah.
I was raised in King James. New King James is still using the Old English.
NIV for me.
And he doesn't understand Old English. So those particular words
Yeah.
seem to hit the check pattern that's biblical words. And it's not really biblical words. It's just Old English words.
I'm saying, I think I understand typical words that trigger people that don't believe in God. I think I understand.
But
that,
yet they read
typically.
Macbeth.
What's Macbeth?
Oh, my gosh.
It's Shakespeare, and they don't actually know who
Shakespeare, Jack,
Shakespeare
come on.
was.
They they didn't teach you Shakespeare in school?
They maybe did. I didn't pay attention in school. at all.
Romeo and Juliet.
So, but we have that debate, Coco. We have that debate on here whether people that don't believe in God can achieve true peace. You believe it's possible without God?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I think it's a journey. Like, I think you can, get to a point of happiness, but there's always, something you're always going to want to better yourself, whether that's earning more money or earning less money, or getting an education, or taking some time off for the family. You know, you're always going to have goals or aspirations, but yeah, I think it's completely possible to reach happiness without a God.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and do the rounds. We're about at 120, so that way we can get in the regular place. Mark, go ahead.
I think the Stoics best defined the human condition without God. That was, man is always looking to gain something, some object, some status, some relationship, thinking it will complete him. He gains that thing and then inevitably feels a disappointment with the thing that he thought that he needed and he strove towards, only to see another thing that he needs to complete himself. And this cycle goes on and on and on until your death. And I know it seems really dystopian or really bad. That's the way I felt. And I think that the reason the Stoics defined that problem is that's the problem without God, because we're always looking for something to fill that hole that's God's size. That was my experience. I would, reach the pinnacle of my profession thinking that would complete me and I'd be happy, only to find disappointment and letdown. And, then I go looking for something else. And none of those things ever gave me what we call in a group that I go to called serenity. So for me, a relationship with God gave me the tool it filled that spot. I don't know. I guess I believe we're genetically encoded to want a relationship with God. That's where we get the seek and ye shall find, knock, the door shall be open to you. It's, people say, what is the purpose of life? To find God. I believe that is the purpose of our life, to find a relationship with God. So
I'm going to interrupt real quick. I got a question. I think we still have time. But Coco, do you believe you diligently sought God when you were a Christian?
I do, yeah, absolutely. Between reading, prayer, talking to friends, family, religious people, trying to talk to God, religious leaders, like preachers, I don't know what the appropriate term is now there, but those religious leaders.
You there?
Not so much conversations. I didn't feel like there was any talking back, but I felt like I did my due diligence. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Fair enough, Mark.
Okay. Well, that was just my take. It's kind of the philosophy that I've come to, looking back on just the endless parade of vacant processes I went through looking for serenity and peace and that thing that I couldn't quite name. Anyway, I found it in Christianity. I found it in God. And I really want to take this opportunity to apologize to any Seventh-day Adventist out there. The Bible specifically states, who are you to judge another man's servant? And when I have talked trash on Seventh-day Adventism, it's not so much about Seventh-day Adventism, it was about me.
Your experience with it.
And my experience,
It sounds like you had a crappy experience, to be honest. I mean,
I did.
You could apologize to him, but it sounds like that was kind of
I did have a crappy experience, but I'm not throwing all the baby out with the bathwater.
Gotcha, yeah.
And so sometimes I get a little exuberant. And, if you're a Seventh-day Adventist, I'm not telling you you're not going to heaven. That's between you and God. I'm just speaking upon what went on in my head when certain tenets of that religion were expressed to me.
Yeah.
And the way they were expressed.
Mark's just saying that he thinks you guys should go get a pork sandwich as soon as you hear this.
Oh, dude, you just did it. You just did it.
And
I don't care.
And you're concerned about negative comments.
I don't know them anything. I'm kidding. I love you guys. You know it. Okay, Larry, your turn.
First off, I would like to say thank you, Coco, for coming on. I really enjoyed our conversation. It goes a whole lot easier when it seems like you're somebody that I've known for a long time.
Well, thank you, Larry. I appreciate that.
But yet you're not old enough to have known for a long time. I'm messing with you. In the words, Ecclesiastes 1 would be the first verse I want to just read. In the words of the teacher, son of David, king of Jerusalem, meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher, utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Solomon had all the riches and all the wisdom, and he went through everything he could possibly do in the flesh to pleasure, and he wrote Ecclesiastes, and it is the general theme is it is all meaningless. Everything here on earth is meaningless. The only thing that has meaning is relationship with God. And we read John 3:16 and 17, but if you wouldn't mind, I want to read 18 through 21 because this is all the words of my Savior. Whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe stands condemned already because he has not believed in the name of God's one and only Son. This is the verdict. Light has come into this world, but men loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. Everyone who loves evil or does evil hates the light, and who will not come into the light for fear that his deeds will be exposed. But whoever lives by the truth comes into the light, so that it may be seen plainly that what he has done has been done through God. All this talk about non-belief. I went through a time of my life when I didn't follow after God, but I never had any doubts. For some reason, I never really doubted God. And you, on the other hand, were told that since you had doubts, that you would, quote unquote, go to hell. But what about what about Thomas? He's known for being doubting Thomas, and yet he was one of the disciples. It is not easy with a finite mind to understand an infinite being. We are not designed to do that. We are never going to fully understand everything that God has placed before us. But he did it in the best way for us to come to redemption through his sacrifice of his own only Son for us, because he did love us from the beginning of his creation of us. He loved us enough to know what he was going to have to do when first he gave us a choice by Satan's fall. He was the ruler over this earth. He was allowed entry into Eden. He bought or stole or lied his way through to get the lease on this planet from Eve through her sin. And through Adam's sin as the leader of that family, he should have shut that down immediately, but he didn't. So to be able to buy back and to set things back to the right, man had to be willing to sacrifice. There is the story of Abraham and Isaac. Man had to be willing to sacrifice his son, his only son, for God to say, now they have come to that point. And then he made a way that he already knew from the beginning would happen. He made a way for us to come back to him. And we are to believe in Christ as the only door to heaven. I just wanted to leave you with that little bit of information.
All right.
You got it? You done?
And I got it.
I appreciate it, man.
I'm going to actually go back and read that again after we get off here, because I think
Do you still have a Bible?
missed some of that. So, oh, yeah, I've got
Bible app.
7, 8 of them. I got one in my back seat I can reach and grab right now.
Nice. So I'll keep mine. I'll keep mine short. But I really think I want to do that this winter. I'm going to reach out to you when we get off here and probably schedule something in the winter with you, if that's okay. You want to come down? I think that'd be really interesting to have someone that doesn't believe in God come in here and talk to and help us interview another person that doesn't believe.
Why don't he come down, hang out, and go to church with us on Sunday?
I bet he would. I bet you would, wouldn't you, Coco?
That's a bunch. Maybe we start with coffee.
Okay, there you go.
You want me to meet your parents already?
That's third base, ain't it? Going to church is third
Yeah.
base.
Coco was starting to feel that hook pulling on the side
Yeah.
of his cheek.
Larry's one of those kids that hits the ball at the bat and runs directly to third base, and the parents are going, "No, it's that way." But anyway, I don't know. I always appreciate people like you that take the same approach as we do. There's a couple people that I've interviewed that just act out a character online and stuff like that, and I don't like it. I don't respect it. I do respect the fact that you don't believe the same thing as me, and I respect your approach. And I understand sometimes you have to get a little wound up, and that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
I try not to myself. I've been doing really well lately, not to respond to the haters and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. I just for me, I continue to talk to God, and He responds to me sometimes, and sometimes He doesn't. I think He talks to us in the same way that He did even back then when I read the Old Testament. I read the story of Gideon and how Gideon communicated God. I was like, oh wow! I read it. I was like, He communicates with Gideon the same way He does me. And honestly, by what that means is that I could be like, I don't know if that was God or not, but I've developed such a relationship with Him. I know when it's God and I know when it's not. But it's hard to explain because it is a spiritual aspect. And one person could say that it was weird and that I was crazy. One person could say that. But what if I'm not? You know what I mean? It's like, what if I'm not crazy? What if I'm right? Then technically you're the crazy one. And you're far crazier.
Yeah.
You're far crazier than me if I'm right. You know, but like I could be wrong. I could be wrong, man. I could be wrong. I understand that, and I could just be crazy. But I combine what my experience has been over my journey with God and how I communicate with Him, and I combine it with what I'm reading in Scripture, and it's very, very similar. And the more I get to know God, the more I realize that there is something going on in the spiritual world that is attacking me, that doesn't want me to walk with God. And if I went away from it, it would all stop. You know, I know it would all stop. I feel that like, hey, this would all go away. Life would get better. Life would be just so much easier if you just gave all this up. And I can't though, because I have to see what it is this thing is trying to stop me from. And I won't do it until I figure that out. So, okay, that's all I was going to say.
Can I ask one more question?
Uh-huh.
Coco, what happens when you die? If you don't have a belief in God and you don't have a belief in hell or heaven,
he's going to say, I don't know.
What happens when you die, dude?
I don't know.
Told you.
I don't know, but what I think happens is I think it's something similar to just what we experienced before birth. You remember that?
Nope.
Exactly.
Right. That's technically what you believe too, huh? That if an unbeliever, but just same thing as before birth.
Yeah, I think. I think the promise.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think the promise is heaven and eternal life with purpose and intelligence, and feeling the complete love and connection with each other and God. And then the punishment is
nothingness. Yeah,
I don't exist.
You don't exist anymore, which is still a punishment. I mean, you know.
I don't know. Some days it feels like that would be nice.
Would that be a punishment?
Right.
You know, take a nap and you're just sick of this old world and tired of it all.
Technically, that wouldn't be a punishment. First off, you have to believe that your soul is eternal. Okay. Secondly, if it's eternal and your body's not eternal, then eventually they separate.
Guys, after death, there's going to be some punishment.
I'm sorry. This is coming up here too. I'm going to give you both homework this week, okay? And you guys are not allowed to talk about this subject for the rest of the week on the phone or any. I'm serious. And you both have homework to do. And the intro of the show next week is going to be what your both of your homework has been. Can we make a deal on that? Shake my hand on it.
Does that mean I have to study LDS?
No.
Okay.
You mean
the
SDAs?
topic of hell. The topic of hell. You both are going to study. You're going to gather scriptures. And in the intro of next week, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the topic of hell next week and our views on it.
Well, I was getting ready to talk about Revelation.
If you don't want to do it, that's fine. Say no. Say no. If you don't want to do it, that's fine.
I'll do it.
Larry says he'll do it. Mark, you in?
You want a devotional every day on hell?
Mark, yeah, you will do that, Larry. Larry's going to write a devotional on hell.
I'm
every day.
willing to be a little bit agnostic as far as that topic goes, but I'm not really sure I want to know. I like what I believe right now. It's comforting to me. I'm still as motivated to go to heaven.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Why would you focus on that? Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
I mean, not sure it really means that
Okay, we're
much.
going to scrap it.
I would only do it for the educational purposes, for having a discussion openly and understanding with people that are open to having a conversation, as Coco, instead of how most agnostics or atheists would just be bashing the crap out of me right now for even mentioning it.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got about 11 minutes. I want to give Coco as much time as he wants here, but talk about your book in your closing statement, and then the floor is yours.
All right. Well, the book's probably going to be a little disappointing. I haven't got much further with it since we had talked last. I've started school, and then that's just been kind of overwhelming. So I have made pretty much no progress on the book since I told you where I was at with it last time, which is just kind of having a rough outline and about half a chapter written. So,
Okay. No, that's fine, but it's a testimony, it's stories of religious trauma, right?
That will be included. Yeah. It's kind of an overview of religious trauma. I'm in school to be a counselor, so it's going to focus a lot on kind of the treatment, the therapy for it, that kind of stuff. But then it'll also include, stories from survivors of religious trauma and that kind of thing. So,
Well, there's a lot of y'all.
There are, and that's one thing I'd actually had talked to Zach about before was I'm not real familiar with a lot of people that actually remain in the church after that, but I'm sure you guys are, and those would be some people I'd love to kind of get in touch with. And like I don't want this to be a God bashing leave religion book. I want this to be something to help people that have gone through this.
You want both sides. That's really cool. I like that. I would read that.
Absolutely, yeah.
I would read that. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, especially if you're not just trying to have an agenda and put somebody from your only side about religious trauma. You want to interview people that still believes in God with religious trauma, because you're just looking you're looking for the answers like I am, man. And you're not afraid to dig into the opposite side.
Absolutely. There's some powerful support that people can get through church, the community. That is the one thing the atheist community, if you will, is where we fail in comparison to the church is community. We have essentially no community. And that can be a big helping factor for somebody going through certain things. So, for somebody to find a church maybe like yours that is welcoming to people and isn't going to condemn or traumatize somebody, that could be very healing for them. Absolutely. So,
yeah, I think being around humans could be traumatizing sometimes.
Absolutely can. I was a paramedic for almost, it was probably 13 years. I was around a lot of traumatizing people.
Yeah, I imagine that's rough. Like, yeah. I mean, I know I used to be a police officer, by the way. And
I heard that, I think this morning when I was listening to last week's episode.
Yeah.
The youngest, or the second youngest
chief of police in the state of Oklahoma at one point.
Yeah.
And the first youngest chief of police was 20 minutes away from where I was chief of police at. Wow. Yeah. I was, and I didn't deserve to be there. I dang sure I felt like I earned it at the time, and I look back now and I'm like, I don't think I would give me a gun even, much less give me a cheaper police shot.
Think this through, Coco. He's in the north. You're in the Northeast, and that was out in the Southwest area. Think that if you've ever been out there,
I remember whenever I was applying for cop jobs when I was 21 years old, I applied for a department in East Oklahoma, Okmulgee, and then another one in Southwest Oklahoma. And I was talking to people in Oklahoma, and I was like, so what's going on? Like, which one should I pick? Because I got a job offer at both of them. And they said, well, if you want like stabbings and pursuits and a bunch of exciting stuff, then you go to Eastern Oklahoma. If you want a little more docile, then go to Southwest Oklahoma. And I must have picked the one spot in Southwest Oklahoma that had a bunch of Eastern Oklahoma people, because it was crazy. We had 13 cops in a tiny little town. And I was like, why do y'all have 13 cops? And they're like, you'll see. And I was like, okay.
Like, wait till it gets dark.
But yeah, I did it for, I did law enforcement for almost 10 years. And I know that I feel like a luxury that I had was whenever I showed up, the people were usually already dead. And I didn't have to watch them die. And I could, there was a few where I had to watch a person die before, and that was very traumatizing. And so I can imagine you are still having to deal with some of that stuff from that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. There's man, I can't count. There's a lot.
You don't do that anymore?
No, I actually kind of had my last straw with it. Hence, I'm in school to be a counselor now, so I'm working in the counseling field, kind of, with other counselors, kind of doing scheduling, filing, kind of learning the business type thing now while I'm in school. I'm still licensed, but I'm not working on the ambulance anymore at all. No.
Yeah. What do you? One question. What do you hope comes of this conversation? What do you hope the people are listening to? What do you hope they get out of this?
Man, I think just to show that, people can be decent to each other, that we don't have to believe the same thing and we can get along. And I think if one person can just see that and, be kind to somebody that shares a different belief than them, I think you guys are changing the world.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Okay, brother. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. I'm going to reach out to you here shortly, and I think we could set that up, because the whole reason why I didn't want you in studio this time is because I don't want to lose the phone call aspect of the show. Yeah, was because that's what we do. We do phone calls on here, and we've done it every week, and I don't want to lose that. But what it popped in my head while he was talking, I was like, man, I think that would be so cool for us to take a call with him here, and then we would have a person that's really getting along, then having an atheist in studio talking to another unbeliever of some sort. I just think that'd be real cool, man. I'm going to let the Lord talk to me about which one, because the perfect guest for you. And I know he'll show me. So, but I appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on.
Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask if I could elaborate on something I said a little earlier too, but go ahead.
Please do. No, you do first. You go first, and then Larry, he'll remember his question. Go ahead.
It was just on the what happens after you die thing. I want to make it clear it up that it's not that I believe that I will be experiencing nothing. It's that there won't be a me to experience anything after death. So there won't be that feeling of missing anything. Like, I know that came up earlier. Like, how would you feel if that were the case? I wouldn't be there to feel. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your question, Larry?
If there isn't anything, then, why have the fear of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. My question would be, as an EMT,
paramedic,
you did, in fact, come across people that were dying, correct?
Oh, yeah, on a weekly basis.
Okay. On the ones that did not believe and the ones that did believe, was there a difference in their attitude when they were facing death?
Um, Man, that's a real hard question to answer because it's not really something I would have known what their
Yeah.
beliefs were unless they were in a position to, be praying as they were dying or something. Um, I just don't know that I would know what their beliefs are to be able to answer that question.
Yeah, because he
for
won't
you.
he won't know the people. Does that make sense? The only way he would
Yeah, I
know if
get
they
you.
had like a cross necklace or something,
Yeah.
and which even that you don't know if they're an actual Christian or not.
Right.
You know?
He showed up at the end of a traumatic event, and it was
Yeah.
all over at that point.
Yeah, it was over. Like it was already on its way out. They didn't have time to sit there and have a conversation. So yeah, you may not have been able to draw that at all. Like whether someone was more peaceful about death if they believed, or did you ever have one that
Yeah.
you're like? Did you ever have one that passed away that So you said there were some people that prayed. Like what would they say?
Oh, just kind of everything from, save me, I'm not ready to die type stuff to I'm ready to come home, Lord. It was the whole
Everything,
spectrum.
yeah.
Everybody's different. Everybody, would pray their different ways, but
God, that gotta have been hard for
you know-
you, man. That had to have been hard, dude.
oh, dude. Yeah. And where I'm at, we're kind of in the Bible Belt. There's not a lot of very outspoken atheists around here. So,
Yeah.
I
Good point.
can't tell you how many times on the ambulance I've had people ask me to pray with them. And there was, I told you, I'd been doing this job for 13 years. So when I started, I was actually still a believer. Now the job didn't have anything to do with me, leaving the faith or anything more than just that was part of my life experience.
You don't
But-
think it had anything to do with it? Nothing?
Well, I'm sure there were factors, but it wasn't like all this death, I can't believe there's a God type thing is kind of what I meant there. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah. Got you.
Okay. It wasn't like wow, the world is such a bad place, there can't be a God. It was just an experience I have that I'm sure contributes to every decision I make, but yeah, it wasn't a huge factor.
Well, whether there is a God or there isn't, death still happens. So,
Of course, yeah.
it's just that's what happens. There's no stopping it. So, okay. Did you have anything else, Coco?
I don't think so. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah.
I appreciate the offer to come down this winter. I think you guys are doing good things, man. Keep
Thank
it up.
you, man.
I'm gonna keep listening.
I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon, brother, okay?
All right, brother. Thank
All right.
you.
Love
Thank
you,
you,
bye.
Larry, Mark, everybody. Love you guys. Have a
Later,
good one.
bro.
Hey,
Love you
same,
too, man.
brother.
Cool, man. I like his energy. I think he's cool, man.
I mean, considering that I have never met him, never talked to him, don't know anything about this dude, literally, I felt comfortable talking to him.
Yeah.
Like I've talked, like I know him. I mean, that's
He
how
does
I
have
felt.
that that voice too, where he's just
Yeah.
chill. He's just chill as
chill,
can
yeah.
be. He doesn't really. Nothing's gonna. That's the one thing I notice about paramedics, firefighters, and cops is it's really hard to shock us about anything, and we do have that. Like, you could literally say anything, and I'd just be sitting here like this, like
Heard
No-
it before.
nothing really shocks me anymore because it just like I've seen it all. There's been a couple times where I've saw on my face where somebody would tell me a story here where I'm like, but it has to be something pretty wild. I mean, when you're a cop, you don't really see a whole lot of spiritual stuff.
Right.
It's just more like real world
As
stuff.
a cop, you never came across someone dying. They were already dead.
No, yeah, I have before, but it wasn't often. It was rare that they most of the time they were already dead when I got there. Yeah.
Did they ask you to pray?
No, most of the time it was like people that were like fighting for their lives. Like it was like yeah. And then most of the time it wouldn't be
Did
me
you
there.
offer to pray with them? Would
No,
you like me
like-
to pray for you?
The ones that I went to, like there was like people there that would be like working on them and stuff like that. And I'm sitting there waiting to
So you're
process
just
a
an
scene. Yeah.
observer.
Yeah, I'm not getting involved in that aspect.
Investigator.
Yeah, like I wait until whatever happens has to happen, and then I come in and do my thing after it's already.
You didn't do
done.
that like, hey, take your last breath already, be done with this, so I can get on with processing this.
Especially if I got called away from lunch or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Get this done, bub. I'm hungry. Get this done,
Yeah.
bubba."
I figured, man, never mess with a cop and his donut.
Yeah. Well, it was more like pizza for me at the time, but yeah,
Pizza.
donuts now. Yeah,
I worked in
bad
pizza.
cop, no pizza. Was
I worked
my
in
name.
pizza. It's a touchy subject.
But yeah, it's one of those things, man. That like, yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple cool things. Like, I worked a case where a guy had burnt his house down, and there was like an angel inside the house that wasn't touched, like a statue of an angel that was. Everything in the house was completely burnt to the ground. It was black, and there was a white angel with a white, just completely white.
You know that church that burned on the south side down on South Walker, right?
No.
They're rebuilt. They literally just now, it was on the news, they just tore it down, and
Oh,
then
really?
now
Nice.
they're doing their rebuild. I got a picture of the picture from the helicopter, and they burnt, the whole roof caved in. And the only thing that didn't burn was a picture of Jesus on the wall.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, I got a picture of it. I got
Yeah.
a picture of my phone.
That's cool, man. Yeah. So I mean, a few things have happened. I remember I went to this lady's house one time, and I go in, and she's an elderly lady, and I walk in, and she goes, "President." She had her like cordless phone in her hand. She goes, "President Obama's on the phone, and there's some kids that's petting a tiger in my TV right now, and I keep shutting it off. President Obama has tapped my phone." And I keep shutting it off. And every time I go back in the bedroom, those dang kids turn my TV back on. And I come back in here and I tell them stop petting the tiger. And I remember sitting
schizophrenics are hard.
I remember sitting there. I remember sitting there in the living room when she's telling me this story. And I had a partner with me. And I was a sergeant at the time. And I had my partner with me. And I'm sitting there and I go, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't know what to do. And then it was funny. My partner was like this, and he just started inching towards the TV. And I'm like, what is he doing? And she's still talking about these kids petting tigers in her TV. And he reaches his hand down to the TV knob, and I was like, hey, no, sir.
You leave the TV alone, pal.
Yeah. If there's tigers in there, I don't want to know. Okay. And I made him stop. So.
My mom at the last part of her life had Alzheimer's. And
Really?
so there were times that she was way off on what she was thinking and talking, you know, and I would, when aunts and something was over there, I'd mess with mom because she was off, you know, thinking about it on some other plane. And like one time she kept mentioning she wanted to go home to her house in Texas. Dude,
Like, you
she's
haven't
never
lived there?
lived in Texas.
Oh, wow.
She never once lived in Texas.
thing about
but I
this-
put her in the car. I drove her around Overhoster twice, and I took her back to her house in Bethany.
Oh, yeah, just to make her, yeah. Here you are. We're in Texas. Yeah.
Well, I didn't even say we were in Texas.
The
I
thing
said, do you
about-
recognize everything? And she said, yeah, it's looking familiar. And I said, okay. And I took her around, and I thought, this is your house, Mom, right? And she goes, yeah. I said, well, let's go in.
Wow. The thing about this lady, the house I went to, her house was in pristine condition. Like she dusted, mopped, vacuumed every day.
I think you're right on the schizophrenic.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay, we got to wrap it up. We're at 151. It was a good show today. I appreciate it. Appreciate everybody coming in. So
Appreciate you, buddy.
all right,
Likewise.
say your thing.
Do that leadership thing.
What's that mean?
Lead us.
Oh, say your thing.
Jesus loves you. So do I.
Thanks for watching and listening. We are out. Thank you for watching or listening all the way to the end. To be a guest on the show or to get a hold of us, please contact us at info@helpmyunbelief.org. And more importantly, make sure to check out new episodes every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Central.